So you may have heard there is a new certification on the block, and it has to do with web application penetration testing. Now, I am glad to say that INE has brought out a really nice, really in-depth course and a good update to their old eWPT. And in this video, I want to give you a review of that course and whether I think you should take it or even just go through the course itself. So I took the exam back in September. I was one of the privileged people to be selected for the beta testing phase of the certification. Now, what this meant is that I needed to get through the course content within about a month and then sit the exam at the end of that month and then wait another 1 to 2 months to hear back from the exam. I'm glad to say that I passed with about 92% overall, and I want to share my thoughts with you about the course and the exam. So let's dive in. So the course itself covers quite a bit of content. We can see that Alexis Ahmed is the instructor, and he's a really great instructor. If you've sat through the eWPT, you would have known that he is really good at explaining things and really helpful when it comes to just giving you an in-depth understanding of the course content and the things that you need to apply. So the course is around just over 100 hours long, which is it's significant. It's not a small thing. It's got 12 sections. It's got 10 courses in itself. There are 175 videos, 126 quizzes that are based on the videos, and then 58 labs. This is a really great course. It goes through the introduction to web application security testing, so everything from methodology to the why and the how of testing. We look at the basics of web fingerprinting and enumeration, web proxies using Burp Suite and Zap. We also look at XSS attacks, SQL injection attacks, and then some more common attacks like local file inclusion, remote code execution, those kind of things. File and resource attacks, web server security testing. This course kind of really goes through a little bit of really basic API testing and web service testing. And I found this a really interesting course. We do some CMS security testing, so that's really focusing on WordPress. You do a little bit of Joomla stuff, a little bit of Drupal stuff, but mainly on WordPress testing and looking at plugins that are vulnerable and that kind of thing. And then a really basic and cursory overview over encoding, filtering, and evasion basics. All of this stuff is important for the exam at the end of the day. I found this content to be really thorough. Most of the courses are around 10 to 12 hours long, and so they cover a lot of material. In the introduction, I found that there was a lot of basics to HTTP and just how the web works. And so this course is really designed to build you up from a really basic understanding of computers, networks, and how the internet works. My tactics for getting through all of this content within about 30 days was to spend pretty much every spare moment that I had studying for this. Every night I would be sitting down studying. I took lots of notes, and if you want to know a little bit more about my tactics about taking notes, click on this video up here. But basically, I had to watch quite a bit of content at double or sometimes even triple speed and take lots of notes as I went through and then do the labs as I usually do. Now, what about the exam? What are the details that I can reveal about the exam? There's not a lot that I can reveal about the exam environment itself because a lot of that is wrapped around in secrecy, and that would kind of give away some of the hints and tips that will help you pass. But what I can give away is basically that there are 10 hours to sit this exam. You are given a pen testing scope in which you are then to test some web applications that are provided for you. Overall, you need to answer about 50 questions. Some are multiple choice, some are short answer questions, some are dynamic questions, which means that by every exam environment that gets produced for each user, it will come up with different flags or different passwords for different things, just to kind of stop cheating and that kind of thing. I found the exam to be really good. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a step up from the eWPT. but it was a good challenge. I found myself researching during the exam, really diving deep into some of the topics that I hadn't spent a lot of time on. And I would say that you'd want to be expecting to do that. I think at this level, it is a professional level exam, whereas the eJPT was at a novice level. The professional level exams expect you to do a little bit of the legwork on your own, meaning that even though the course content does cover everything you need to know, it does cover it enough so that it can get you going, so that you know kind of what to Google and where to look when you're doing the exam itself and when you're doing a penetration test on your own. I had a conversation the other day with a friend who told me that whenever they do web penetration tests, they're always researching because there's always something more to learn. And this was something that definitely scared me when I first looked at web application penetration testing and the content of this certification. But I became a bit more comfortable with the idea that I'm going to have to research, I'm going to have to look up things and be comfortable with not knowing, because that's just the place that we sit as web penetration testers. A bonus for the exam is that there isn't a report. Now, some people may say, well, that's not realistic. You're going to have to be writing a report in a real setting. That's the whole point of doing a pen test, is to provide a report to a client. But this exam is testing you more on the skills and the ability that you have than on your communication skills in a report. Now, some people may think that because it's a multiple choice exam, it's easy and you just click buttons and that's it. And that's not really testing you. They may feel like it's going towards the CEH route, which is just more theory-based. But this exam, I didn't find it that way. I found that you needed to actually perform the penetration test to be able to know the answers, to be able to accurately answer the questions. And even some of the questions were kind of like the answers to the questions that they offered were trick questions, trick answers, not to trip you up, but to make sure that you are actually paying attention and doing due diligence of enumeration and finding vulnerabilities and actually exploiting things as they should. So I just found that it was an extremely practical exam. I learnt a lot from the exam itself. And one other note, I found this exam was less about copying and pasting payloads and commands into your terminal and more about exploring and researching and really diving deep into some issues. I found that with the eJPT, it was very much like point and shoot exploitation, very much a basic understanding of networks and how to exploit something over a network. This was a lot more like, how do I experiment with SQL injection? How do I experiment with local file inclusion or remote file inclusion? Is this vulnerable to cross-site scripting, and how can I actually exploit that in a way that is meaningful? So you're really exploring the functionality of a web application and diving really deep into that. So let me know in the comments if you're actually thinking about doing the eWPT like I did. Now, these are my thoughts. Is it worth it? Is doing this certification, investing over 100 hours into doing a course and then sitting and taking a full day to sit this exam worth your time, your effort, your money? So if you're a beginner like me, I would probably say yes, but you do have to consider the cost. This is not the cheapest exam out there, not the cheapest certification that you can get. There are certainly other resources that you can do for free. Like the Taggart Institute has a really nice short course on web application testing that's very basic and gets your foot in the door. And I know a lot of people who they use that and they take that really far. They like to do their own work and all of that. I like to be a bit more guided especially when I still feel like a beginner and I'm learning, I guess, the overall concepts. And then from that point, I like to take myself further. So I will continue to learn and apply myself, but doing it on my own terms. The cost of the certification includes a 3-month subscription, so you can do your course, and then you've got 180 days to sit the exam. So it's about $600. It's not cheap. It's not the most expensive, but it's definitely not cheap. And as I said, you can learn this stuff for free. But if you're looking more into having a set path, being taught by someone who has done this for a long time and has a really good track record of teaching people really well, then I would highly recommend sitting the eWPT. And I guess for me, there's always a conversation about certifications, whether they're useful or not. For me, I see certifications as a way to test myself. Yes, it verifies to an employer that, yeah, you have this kind of level of skill. But for me, it's a test to see whether the knowledge and the skills that I've learned actually stick, and I know how to apply them in kind of like a measured real environment. Now, the course does really prepare you for the exam, and it's a great next step if you've done the eJPT, which I'd done earlier this year, to do the eWPT. It just really complements, and I remember I said that I really lamented the fact that the eJPT doesn't really go into web application, because web applications are kind of everywhere, and so they're an important aspect of penetration testing today. The other question is, well, do I see this as a really good launching pad to get into bug bounty or anything like that? Yeah, I do. Even throughout the course, Alexis really highlights the importance of knowing these concepts in order to then go into bug bounty, and not just web penetration testing. Now, will it take you the whole way? Will it get you in really in-depth knowledge? Probably not. This is a really good launching pad to help you along your journey as you learn to test web applications. And it kind of gives you all the tools that you need to get you started at a pretty in-depth level, but not at an advanced level. So don't expect to know everything about web application testing, but by the end of this course, you'll be able to test web applications and be able to research things that you don't know. You'll be able to actually find the answers for yourself instead of kind of looking at the screen really blankly and going, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to look at. So if you found this video really helpful and this review helpful, let me know in the comments, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next one.